Hello, everyone. Everybody hear me? Somebody talk to me so I can make sure I hear you.
Hello.
I've got to talk.
Good morning. Hello.
Oh,
Good
there you are.
Hi.
Hang on, hang on.
Hello.
Please, now do you hear me? Yes, still. Please forgive my fault that we are starting 5 minutes. Jim, I bet you were starting to panic.
Oh, no, that's okay. No worries.
Very good. I have a very important guest with me in Jackson, Mississippi this week. His name is Yoshi Nakamoto. He is with the Council for Economic Education Japan. And we
Oh,
were
wow.
just talking away, and I looked down at my watch and saw that it was 3:05. So I apologize. And I am delighted to see all these faces here today. Welcome. Welcome. Okay, so I think we might have had a little bit of oh, there we go. I think we might have had a little bit of extra time in our 1 hour period, Jim. Maybe we didn't need like the whole hour for
Yeah.
content. So I'll make sure I'm on time the next time. I do
No,
want to
it's okay.
quickly share something real quick before Jim gets started. Y'all give me just a second. Just tell you what so I have a little slide that we'll show the next time, but I can tell you what it said. First of all, if you are joining us and you have not ever been to a Mississippi Council on Economic Education workshop before, I am Selena Sportsfager. I am the president of the organization and have a mission every day of my life to provide great resources to Mississippi teachers so that you can be the best you can be in your classrooms as you're teaching our kindergarten through 12th grade students. And so as a result, and you'll probably know this from the registration, but there will be a total of 5 of these joint MCEE / Federal Trade Commission webinars. And if you attend all 5, then we will issue you 0.5 continuing education units and give you a little $25 happy Amazon gift card just as a thank you for giving us your time. I had the great benefit and honor of meeting Jim, gosh, over a year ago now, I think.
Yeah.
I was invited to attend an in-person event that the Federal Trade Commission was doing in Jackson, Mississippi. And while there, they were just talking about how can we as an organization reach more people. And I said, oh, I can help. And the way I can help is we can work together to create something that's good for educators, for teachers. And so really for a year now, Jim and his team have been working hard to put together 5 individual units, so to speak, that are very timely. And the things that you will learn from Jim and his team are not things that you would get like going through our Master Teacher of Economics program or even attending, just like one of our regular one-day workshops. So I'm super excited to have Jim. Jim, are you alone today or do you have a teammate that's here with you?
Yeah, I'm joined by my colleague, Rhonda Perkins. And
Okay.
thank you so
Well,
much.
okay, there's Rhonda. I see you.
Yeah.
Rhonda. And so with that, I will be here with you today. And we are recording this. At the end of the day, we're going to also create a workshop that takes a lot of this information and put it together into one piece. But you will have heard it here first. You will have the opportunity to ask questions of Jim and Rhonda. they see all kinds of things as it relates to scams in the real world. And I personally think one of the best ways to learn is to hear real life stories about things that have happened. And so when we first started talking about this, that's what I told Jim. I said, the more real world examples that you can give, I think the more beneficial it will be to the educators. So,
Mhm.
with that, Jim, may I just turn the floor over to you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Selena, for that very kind intro. We really appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. I guess I will just share screen. Oh, let's
Oh,
see.
I may need to let
Yes.
you do
Yeah,
that,
I think,
which I will.
okay. I'm going to send you a little request there. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
See if I can. Okay, there we go. All right. So welcome everyone. So again, I'm Jim Kreidler, and I'm here with my colleague Rhonda Perkins. Um, we're from the Federal Trade Commission, which is the nation's consumer protection agency. And first, just a disclaimer, the views we share today are our own and don't necessarily reflect the position of the Federal Trade Commission, any individual commissioner, or any other component of the agency. Um, so let's see now, let me just see if I can click my screen here and get it going. Okay, there we go. So before we start, let me tell you a little bit about the FTC. So, as the nation's consumer protection agency, the FTC works to stop fraud, deception, and unfair business practices. Through enforcement, the FTC does investigations. We sue companies and people that break the law, and we try to get money back to people whenever possible. Um, Many of those cases are based on reports that the FTC gets from people who talk about scams and dishonest practices that they see, even if they don't lose money. And through education and outreach, the FTC tells people about their rights and businesses about their responsibilities in print and in person or virtually, as we are today. The FTC shares how to spot and avoid scams, how to report them, how to talk about them, and why talking about them with anyone really helps protect not just yourself, but also the people in your community. And finally, the FTC can't do it alone by working with educators and librarians, community organizations. The FTC tries to amplify these messages and reach a broader audience. So this webinar is designed to give you some ideas about how to incorporate lessons about money-making opportunities and job scams into your classes. First, we'll have some warm-up exercises to get you thinking about the scams that your students may encounter. Then we'll go over what we know from FTC data and our experience about common money-making and job scams, how to spot them, advice you can share with your students, where to report fraud and why, and finally, where to get free resources from the FTC. We'll also have a little bit of time for discussion at the end there. So just to kick things off, let's do a quick informal quiz. If you guys have your chat, if you can put your answers in the chat here, pick the best answer for each question. So question one, according to FTC reports, what's the top contact method that scammers use to reach people 19 and under? And Rhonda just put that question in the chat there, and I'll just read off if you guys have any ideas. Is it A, websites or apps, B, texts, online ads or pop-ups, email, social media, or phone call? Okay, I'm seeing some social media here, email for some, email, social media. Okay, getting some good answers here. Okay. Okay, well, so the answer is E. Yes, it's social media. And that's a very common way for scammers to reach out, particularly to people 19 and under. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rhonda for the next question.
All right. Thank you so much, Jim. Hi, everyone. As Jim said earlier, I'm Rhonda Perkins. I'm an attorney in the FTC's Division of Marketing Practices, and we investigate and take action against various scams and fraud, including internet and phone scams, deceptive telemarketing, and fraudulent business opportunities. So some of the things we do where I work is sue, for example, telemarketers and take them to court and try to get money back to people who they took it from. So next question. True or false? Younger people are more likely than older adults to report losing money on many types of scams. Okay, I'm seeing true, I'm seeing false. Great, thank you so much for those responses. It's true. So, based on the data that the FTC receives from reports that people file with us, and Jim will talk about that a little bit more later and why it's so important to report, Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Z young adults were more likely than older adults to report losing money to fraud in 2024. And younger adults were also more likely to report losing money on online shopping scams and investment scams. Doesn't mean older adults don't lose money, but we just want to make sure everyone knows that younger people are losing money to scams. So, for context, people from all over the country report scams and frauds to the FTC. And analysis of that data gives us insights into what scams are affecting different groups. And we can use that information to help educate and disseminate targeted consumer protection messages. And on the slide, you can see some information that we know about reports from people 19 years old and under. And here's an overview of the top scams affecting young people in 2024. Online shopping, often not getting what you ordered. That's things like the wrong product or you didn't receive anything at all. You'll see that number 4 on the list is job scams, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. The number 1 contact method, as you all said before, social media. And number 1 payment methods, payment apps and debit card. And so next I'm going to share some examples of scams that we know target this age group, which includes people like your students, especially older students, people who may be driving, for example. So one of the scams we've seen affecting young people are car wrap scams. And this is an example of one of the ads for what this type of scam might look like. Some of your high school students who drive might be looking to make extra money through a side gig, and they might get a text or see an ad on social media that says, get paid while you drive. And the offer can sound great. Make $400 or $700 per week, just drive around with an ad for some well-known company. It might be something like an energy drink. But many times these offers are scams and a way for scammers to steal people's money. And we receive a lot of reports about this type of scam. So here's how the car wrap scam works. Someone sends a text or email with a message that says, get paid to drive, or something similar. And if your student responds, the scammer will send a check to deposit into their bank account. Then they'll tell the student to use some of that money to pay a quote unquote specialist or installer to put an ad on their car. And it's really important to pay attention to how someone tells you to pay, because scammers will ask people to pay in ways that are really hard for you to get your money back. Payment apps, cryptocurrency, wiring money into their bank account. But in terms of these types of check scams, when the check that the scammer sent your student is deposited, they'll find out later that it's fake. So if the student pays the specialist or installer, they'll come up with some excuse for why they have to send some of the money back. The money they send is coming out of their own pocket, and the bank may debit your student's account in the amount of the fake check and charge a fee, like a returned item fee or an overdraft fee. And there's all types of fake check scams. So if anyone ever sends a check and says deposit it and send me money back, this goes for everyone. Don't do it. So, what steps can your students take to spot and avoid this scam? Ignore and delete unexpected texts and tell their friends to do the same. I'm sure we all get these random text messages. They either have some great offer or they sound really urgent for a problem we need to solve. Never send money to someone who sent a check. This is a fake check scam, and we see it for all types of things. And if they get what they think is an offer to make some money, they should talk to a parent, a trusted adult, maybe their teacher, before they act. And tell others about the scam. Studies show that people who know about scams are more likely to spot and avoid them. So it's really important to talk to people about stuff like this. And as we move through the webinar, you'll notice some common themes around money-making opportunities and job scams. And I'll give you some examples of common job scams. So, for example, scammers post fake job ads for babysitters and virtual assistants on different job sites. And this is another twist on the fake check scam that we just discussed in the car wrap scam example. So, if one of your students apply, the person who hires them might send them a check. They'll tell your student to keep part of the money for their services and send the rest to someone else. Once again, never deposit a check and then send money back to someone, because that check will then bounce and your student will be out of their money. And a similar example is mystery shopper scams. While some mystery shopping jobs are legitimate, many are scams. And especially when you hear about it from some out of the blue text message or on social media, legitimate mystery shopping companies will never come and find you. They won't ask you to pay for certifications, directories of jobs, or job guarantees. And if someone asks you to pay to get any job, that is a scam. And here's another one: job placement service scams. There are legitimate staffing agencies, but typically they don't charge a fee. Instead, the hiring company pays them to find qualified candidates. So if a placement firm tells someone you have to pay to get a job, that's a scam. And so next, we'll talk about one of the fastest growing scams among young people, and that's task scams. So these are things where they'll usually start with an unexpected tax offering online work. And we've seen a huge increase in this recently. So the supposed job in this scam is to complete tasks in an app or online platform for which a student will supposedly earn money for, or they might get a commission for things like product boosting, liking videos, or doing optimization tasks online. But once the student completes each task, they'll keep seeing an ever increasing tally of supposed earnings in the app, but it's all fake. Scammers can fake apps, they can fake websites, and they can make it look like people are earning money, whether it's a job scam or some type of investment scam. So that's really something to watch out for. So at some point, the app or online platform will ask your student to deposit their own money, usually in cryptocurrency, to complete their next set of tasks and to get their supposed earnings out of the app. And of course, those earnings are fake. So if they make the deposit, their real money is gone. So how can your students spot and avoid these task scams? Tell them to, once again, we can't say it enough, it's so important. Ignore unexpected texts or WhatsApp messages about jobs. Real employers will never contact them this way. And that goes as well for messages on social media. Really, any type of unexpected message where someone's asking you to, that ends up with someone asking you to pay money. Don't do it. Never pay anyone to get paid or to get a job. That's a sure sign of a scam. And finally, don't trust anyone who says they'll pay you to rate or like things online. That's illegal. No honest company will do it. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jim.
Thanks so much, Rhonda. So now that we've covered several types of scams targeting your students, what are some of the questions that they can ask themselves if they're wondering if a message is a scam? The first one to encourage them to ask is, who's responsible for this message? Who made it and why? For example, if it's a company is it a company trying to sell a product, or is it someone trying to get them to do something without really revealing who they actually are? What do they want me to do? Let's say your student got an unexpected text offering them a job opportunity with a social media company, and it asks them to click on a link. What might that link ask them for? Most likely personal information or money. And then finally, why are they asking for my personal information or money? If they're saying I won something, why would they need my username and password? if they want me to share my personal information, why would they need that? And what would they do with that information? These are all the kind of critical thinking questions that I think are natural, in classes, and we really want to try and encourage kids to ask these questions of unexpected texts that they get or any other type of message. So, what are some other things that students can do? Encourage your students to get into the habit of asking these types of questions. Um, so one question is this message really telling me the whole story or only the parts that make an offer sound good? Could there be any downsides or problems, negatives, in taking action that the message is not mentioning? Should I do more research and talk to someone I trust, like a parent, a teacher, or a trusted adult before I make a decision? Scammers are always looking for ways to throw people off balance, and they're betting that people are too busy or too distracted to notice that there's a scam going on. So when your students come across a message, encourage them to stop, take a breath, take a moment to get out of that scroll and immediately respond mode, and instead ask themselves a few questions: who, what, and why. So job scams can look like a lot of things and appear very legitimate, but here are some other things that your students can do to avoid them. Do an online search. Look up the name of the company or the person who's hiring, plus the word scam, review, or complaint. Your student might find out that this person doing the hiring has actually scammed a whole lot of other people. Talk to someone you trust. Ask your students to describe the offer to someone they trust. What do they think? This is also helpful for students to give them the vital time that they need to think about something before actually responding. Don't pay for the promise of a job. Rhonda has mentioned this. Again, legitimate employers, including the federal government, will never ask your students to pay to get a job, and anyone who asks them to pay to get a job is a scammer. And then finally, never bank on a cleared check. No legitimate potential employer will ever send your students a check and then tell them to send part of the money back to someone else or pay for supplies or equipment. All of this information, I should mention, is available at ftc.gov/jobscams. So now I think we want to open it up a little bit to some discussion, and feel free, you can ask questions verbally or put questions in the chat, but just to get a sense, from your experience in your own lives and in your own classes, have you or your students ever experienced these types of scams? And how did you or they know that they were scams? What did you do to help your kids spot those types of scams? If you feel free, or if you feel so inclined, feel free to share or just ask questions, and Rhonda and I will do our best to kind of answer and facilitate a little bit of a discussion here. So have you guys come across these types of things in teaching and in some of the work that you've done? Okay, yeah. Okay, so Selena, I do get text messages about part-time jobs that pay lots of money, but I've always deleted them. Yep. Fair enough.
I'm sorry.
May I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my son, he's like 28 years old. And so he's not employed right now, and so he's looking for a job. And so I did warn him about going through those agencies that say that they'll help you, because I want him to understand that that might not be what he thinks it is, so I'm telling him to be very careful and do the research on it. And then also, look at the reviews and see what they have to say about it, as to before you decide giving all your information, your personal information, to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, I think kids need to know that people who claim to be something on the internet are not always what they claim to be. and everyone needs to do their own research and really dig in and find out for themselves, like, is this person that I'm dealing with legit? Are they actually who they say they are? So I think, that's excellent advice to give your son, and I hope he's taken it and done some of his own research to find out the answers.
That's so helpful for people who are looking for jobs. Another thing is, even if you're looking on a well-known search board, one of these companies we've all heard of, scammers post there too. So it's really helpful to give
Mhm,
people that kind of advice to know just because you're on a job board or some platform that we've all heard of, scammers are everywhere. And so just because someone's posting there doesn't mean it's legitimate, and you definitely have to look into it outside of that. So that's really great advice.
mhm, mhm,
There's also one more thing I want to mention. Like I did have a student who wanted to work at Sonics, but
mhm,
Sonics did not have a paper copy. They wanted you to do it electronically. And so he could never get past a certain part because it always took him to something else, but it wasn't Sonic's application. So
mhm.
I did tell him, I said, no, that's not it. That's not it. So just stop and go to Sonics and see if you can get a paper copy.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. There are a lot of scammers out there that create duplicate websites that look, virtually identical to legitimate companies in order to steal people's information, and then, they can commit identity theft or a host of other things. So, again, great counsel to your son about checking out and, trying to get a paper copy or really find the real application portal that is not the fake one. Um, so yeah, excellent. There's some really good ones here coming in. Okay, so my students come to me all the time with those types of job opportunities via text. Um, okay, I teach work-based learning, so they're wondering about them. I tell them to block and delete. Yeah, excellent, excellent advice. Email scams will usually have wonky email addresses or something shady in the fine print. Yep, another good point. Some of my kids notice that they want you to send money, right, to process their application. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you guys have really experienced all of this. It's a very real aspect. Any other questions people want to ask verbally, or? Oh, I think you're on mute there, Florine. Oh, yep. Still can't hear you. Let's see what's happening. Maybe it's on our end. Oh, now you're back to mute. Okay. No, we're not hearing you. I'm so sorry. Is that, you look unmuted now, but hmm. Well, I'm having issues here. Maybe. Is anybody else hearing Florine?
No, I can't hear.
Yeah, maybe any
Can you
other.
hear me?
Oh, now we hear you. Yes. Is that
Okay.
Trina?
Yes, I have a friend and I think she just lost a job
Mm,
and she called me to let me know that she got a job, but it was online and it really sounded exactly like a scam.
mm,
So when I get off, I'm gonna call her because I
mm,
think she was scammed. It's
mhm.
all online. It's a job
All
all
online. Yeah. I mean, there are online jobs, but scammers really, I think during the pandemic also, with so many people working remote, scammers kind of caught on to that trend, and they know that people want remote jobs, and so there's ample opportunity to steal people's money and personal information. So it's great that you're going to follow up with her.
That's always the big red flag, is when someone asks you to send them money, and they might even have you, like with the task-based scams, they might even have you, seems like, working for a while and things seem great, but there's always some point where you have to send them money or input a lot of really sensitive information. So just talking that through, saying, I heard this presentation and they mentioned this. I think having that conversation with people is always great.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Florine, I find that students are more trusting when they use the internet. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's kind of a culture of tending to believe what one sees online for, a younger generation, and maybe not doing as much investigating or really checking out, so that, often that one would do in person. So these are all excellent questions. So let's see if there's no other questions. I guess maybe I'll just move along here to our next piece. Let's see if I get it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now that we've talked a lot about these different types of scams, I guess the big question is, where should you and your students go to report them? And this piece is really important because, scammers don't just scam one person. If they really target whole communities of people. So if you see or experience a fraud or a scam or any type of bad business practice, you can help your community, your family, and friends by reporting it to the FTC. And every time you file a report with the FTC, you give us a piece of the puzzle to help build cases, to stop scammers, and also to alert others to current trends. So the place to do that is reportfraud.ftc.gov, also in Spanish. It's a very intuitive website. You basically click through and you answer a series of questions and get kind of a step-by-step plan for what to do next. So let's see. We also take reports in languages besides English and Spanish, which helps the FTC and our partners hear from all communities. So in this case, you can call the FTC 1-877-382-4357, and then someone will take that report in whatever language. And then I want to point out here, we have a resource called consumer.gov, and it can be really useful. It basically shares consumer protection basics, plain and simple, all designed to focus on action steps that one can take for any given situation. And these are some of them. So your money, your credit, debit, or debt, sorry, college and careers, schools, cars, scams, and identity theft. Again, it's written in plain language to help users navigate those key consumer decisions, and also give advice on protecting their money and personal information. We also take reports in all of these languages, which is really incredible. It's helped us reach, I think, a lot more audiences. So at ftc.gov/languages, you'll find resources like how to avoid scams, what to do if you paid a scammer, a fraud handbook for recent arrivals to the US, as well as how to spot, avoid, and report identity theft in your language, as well as graphics to share. And then here, this is a really useful piece too, especially I think for educators. The FTC offers free print material that you can order for free and also have delivered to your school for free. So a lot of these resources that we've talked about here today, things like If You Were Scammed or Job Scams Explained, or this bookmark on job scams, you can order all of these materials for free at ftc.gov/bulk order. And so, I mean, if you're online now, you can even go and check it out and put in your address and have stuff ordered. So it's really a great resource and one I highly recommend. Let's see, can you share that previous web address again? Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll just go back. Okay, so that's the languages page. Is that the one? Oh, no, sorry, consumer. Okay, yes, consumer.gov. So yeah, consumer.gov, also just a really good resource, I think, for educators. It's got the basics and it really covers it well. Very accessible. Okay, hopefully that works for everyone. Okay, so back to bulk order. Great. Yeah, ftc.gov/bulk order. So again, I highly encourage that. You can go there and have stuff delivered for free. Okay, and then finally, we'd like to stay in touch. So please sign up for consumer alerts. The FTC covers all kinds of fraud and scam, and the best way to stay in touch with us is if you go to ftc.gov/consumer alerts. We'll send you email updates. We also do these kind of blog updates on the latest consumer issues that are out there. So it's a really great resource. And once you sign up, we'll send you alerts by email. And we do have some time to take some questions. Actually, before we take actual questions, let me just jump over here. If I could ask, we're trying to get a sense of how effective our outreach efforts are. And if you all wouldn't mind taking just a 4-question survey, I'm just going to put a little, and it's no obligation, but any answers or ideas that you have, I'm just going to put it right there in the chat, and feel free to click. You can also ask questions while you're doing it, just maybe in the background, but we'd be happy to answer. Okay, so let's see. Can I use your slideshow? Yes, definitely. I can email it to you. I'll email it to Selena, and then she can get it.
Yes, I
Yep.
will be happy to do that.
Yeah.
And while you all are thinking of your questions, I just wanted to highlight something that Jim mentioned, which is the importance of reporting. So, as an attorney at the Federal Trade Commission, I've done several investigations and court filings, and those reports are critical. So, we're not able, I mean, we receive millions of reports. We're not able to respond individually and call every person back, but they are incredibly important. And I have used those reports in my work and to reach out to consumers. And another thing I want to mention is these scams can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter how old you are, your background, where you're from. And so it's really important that we talk about it and take the shame out of reporting and let people know that this happens to everyone. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and this can help it prevent it from happening to them as well.
Mhm. Very good. Yeah.
Okay, my question is, I've been getting texts about I owe a toll, and I don't live in the state. I live in Mississippi. We don't have tolls. So is
Mm,
that something that I can report to the FTC? Because they
yeah.
come like every day saying that,
Mhm.
June 30th, we're going to start garnishing your check. And, that's alarming to me when someone talking about, garnishing my money. So
Mhm.
how do I
Yeah.
respond to those texts? Because I mean, they come once a week to my phone. What do I need to do?
Sure. So reportfraud.ftc.gov is a very good place to report. I would also look into blocking those texts, on your device, on whatever device you're on. I think, yeah, you just basically want to stop that from hassling you. And so if that's a possibility, if there's a way, a lot of platforms, allow or just have options to do that. Any other thoughts on that, Rhonda?
Yeah, and that's a huge scam that we're seeing right now.
Mm,
I'm getting those text messages. I think a lot of people are getting them when you go to websites for different toll companies. It's one of the first alerts at the top is that there's a huge problem with toll scams right now. If you think you owe a toll, go directly to the website of a company. And like you said, it sounds like you don't even have tolls where you live, but it's especially scary if you live in a place where you regularly use toll roads. And so, yeah, we have information, I think, on our website, Jim, about how to go about blocking um, when you're
yeah,
getting those types of messages.
yeah. I'll see if I can find that. If I
Okay,
can find it.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joel, I do actually I visit Dallas, Texas and Austin, Texas on a regular basis because I have family there and I always drive and I do use toll roads. So the first time I got one of those text messages, I was like, okay, this seems odd, but I do actually drive on toll roads. I had to go through that whole thought process of does this make sense? And at the end of the day, I realized it didn't make sense when they do bill me, but it's always through the mail, and I hadn't
Mhm.
been over in Texas, real recently. So, but I can see how people fall for that one for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's an important piece of advice that goes back to what Jim and I mentioned earlier about unexpected text messages telling you that you urgently need to do something. And this is another thing, never click on any links in these random text messages that you get. If you receive something from, I mean, it's so cheap. The technology is really cheap to blast out these types of messages and phone calls. So they send it out to everybody. But if you actually have an easy pass or you actually have a bank account at a particular bank. Maybe you think it's directed to you, but go to the bank's website. Call the number on the back of your credit card. Go to the toll company's website. Don't ever call anyone from a phone number that you receive in an urgent text, email, or social media message.
Mhm, mhm. And just to follow on to that point, the open rate for text messages is very high. People it's something like 98%. Most people open every text they get. And so that gives a really good odds or gives very good odds really for scammers. So yeah, I think it's block, delete, use the resources on the phone to delete those messages. And then as Rhonda said, investigate and go actually directly to the toll company if there is something there. So okay, let's see. Oh, for the slideshow, yes, that's great. Thank you for emailing to me. Let's see. Any other questions? I guess one thing I can add here, I'll just put up our emails. If you think of a question later and you want to email either Rhonda or myself, here are our emails here at the FTC.
Hey,
Okay.
Jim.
Yeah.
I got a tiny bit distracted in the middle with a phone call, so
Mhm,
just forgive me if you've already done this. Have
mhm,
you actually shown them the link on where they would go to make a report or given them that
mhm.
link?
It is, let's see here, I'll just go back. Yep, right here. So here's the reportfraud.ftc.gov.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have done that, y'all. I'm glad to hear Rhonda say that those are of value. I felt like, all right, I'm wasting my time and everybody else's by filling this out, but I got, and I don't even know if this is an FTC thing, but I got an invoice in the mail for work. It was a work thing. They'd sent it to the Mississippi Council on Economic Education.
Mhm,
And y'all can tell me, Jim and Rhonda, if this is even something that you cover. It was an invoice to renew my, it's called a UEI number with the federal
mhm,
government. And it's
mhm,
something that you do for yourself. You can do it for yourself, but it was an
mhm,
invoice saying that my number for MCE was about to expire and I could pay this
mhm.
invoice and they would renew it for me. And
Yeah,
so, knowing that I could do it for myself and had done it for myself, I was like, somebody needs to know that this company is sending out these invoices. And so I filled out all the information online. Is that even something that y'all look
yeah,
into, Jim
yeah,
and Rhonda?
yeah, yeah, it is. And in fact, maybe your post or your message to us at Report Fraud alerted us to it because I ended up writing a blog post about it, and
Oh, what do you know?
share it to I'll
I
share it.
love that.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean it's that's a very real thing. People or scammers often impersonate government officials and they impersonate or they try to charge people for things that they could do for free for themselves. So I'm
yeah,
really glad to hear that you had already done that for free for yourself and knew not to fall for that. Um,
yeah.
yeah, 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 it's really good.
That's
I
also what
do. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's what Jen was mentioning earlier. And even if we don't use those reports for a case or for enforcement, we use it to alert people about what's going on. So similar to people here, we're sharing about, have you all been getting those toll text scams? Maybe someone hadn't gotten theirs yet, but they heard about it here. So they'll know, oh, this is a scam. I'm not even going to open this. So us getting those reports allows us to alert communities about what's going on. And also if you sign up for those consumer alerts, which I sign up, I work here, I don't know everything going on. If you sign up for those alerts, you'll hear about what are the latest scams and what you need to watch out for and tell your communities about.
Mhm.
Yeah. I do get those alerts. I signed up for them about a year ago and I don't read every single one of them, but
Yeah.
some days, I'll be going through emails and, click through and skim whatever Jim has sent out. And then if the title sounds like something that might apply to me, then you just click on it and go in there and read a little bit more.
Mhm. Mhm. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Selena, and thank you all for joining today. We're thrilled to be able to share this. Oh, another question. Yeah, go for it.
Yes, this is a little different. Will you all be talking about, is it called a scam? If I was looking at my checking account and then all of these charges just started just coming through my account. Is that part of fraud or what is that called? Or will you all be going over what session that?
Yeah, I guess what I'd say is, investigate those charges and
Oh,
find
I
out.
did. I did.
Okay.
It was they were all put back, but I
Oh,
was I
good.
don't normally just be looking at my account, but when I saw places I don't even go, I was like, wait a minute. I went
Yeah,
straight to the
yeah.
bank.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, that's something that's a kind of a lifelong habit that's really important for all of us to do, and also for us to encourage our students to do is, going through one's accounts and making sure that if you see a charge that you don't recognize, that you question it and that you talk to the bank or really do some online searching and try and find out, okay, is this associated with a scam? And if it is, then take steps either by contacting your bank or your credit card
And
company
then I had to
to,
stop all of that
yeah,
had to be taken. I mean, I had to get a new card because
yeah,
that was gone. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a rampant issue, and I'm glad you were able to correct it.
It's great
Yes.
that you regularly check your statement because there's a certain time frame within which you have to challenge bogus charges. So that's,
Okay.
as Jim mentioned, some really important advice for your students and really for everyone is to check your bank statements every month and make sure that those charges on there are yours. Because if you don't, I mean, that could go on for months.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Thank you.
So just so y'all know, and I'm guessing that everybody that signed up for today probably signed up for the series, but the next one, we're doing these every Tuesday. We did skip the week of 4th of July just because we were like, well, people might be out of pocket that week. But we've got 5 Tuesday joint workshops with the Federal Trade Commission. The next one will be on impersonator scams, then identity theft. The fourth one, which I'm really excited about because I think our kids will really need this information, social media influencers and online reviews. That one's going to be gold, I think. And then the fifth one is UVille. So the FTC has an online program that they will show us on the last webinar and teach us how to use that. So once again, very thankful, Jim and Rhonda, for your, I don't know if we call it a partnership here or friendship or what, but between the FTC and the Mississippi Council on Economic Education, these webinars, as I mentioned, are being recorded, and you can, share these with other people in your life that you think might be interested, other teachers that, of course, there won't be any CEUs for watching the recording, but that doesn't mean it's not good, valuable information. So,
Thank you so much, Selena. We're really delighted to be partners with you and sharing this information. Thanks for hosting these webinars. And we look forward to next Tuesday.
okay, well, if there are no other questions or comments, we will be through for the day, and I hope to see you all next week.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay. Thanks so
All right,
much. Okay. Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.